And we are live. What's going on, bro? No intro, because this is not our regular show. This
Special
is
programming, folks. Special programming.
special programming.
Yes.
Yep. So we're gonna be covering. What are we doing? We're covering the
Cabinet.
the new
Carney's
cabinet. Is it safe to say the new cabinet? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be new. I think it's going to be shuffled, I think.
A whole lot of crap.
Yeah. I see Chrystia Freeland stays in transport post. That's one of the, I don't know how important the transport post is, but you knew Chrystia Freeland, especially with the gender minimums, you knew she was going to stay somewhere in the cabinet.
Well, I was just posting about this earlier. Let me see if I can make us a bit bigger and make them a bit smaller. Seems like I can't. Either way, so it's hold on, I'll put a bit of volume there.
We all heard this, but she was going to be leaving, right? Potentially going.
Can you hear this?
Yeah, I can hear.
So, like they're saying, it's true, right? Because all the posts I've been seeing is, oh, she's going to stay on. Oh, no, she's gone. Oh, no. Oh, no. So we don't really know.
Yeah, there she is right there.
That woman, the fact that woman still has a position blows my fucking mind. What a useless twat.
Well, you knew there wasn't going to be too much change here. Joe says, why are you guys messing up my rhythm? Yeah, don't worry, Joe. I don't think it's going to be too long. We're going to be back on at our regular scheduled hour at noon. This is just, I guess, in case there was any major surprises, we're trying to get into a thing where we cover breaking news a little more. I suspect there isn't going to be any major surprise, but if nothing else, it's good practice.
Yeah, and that at the end of the day, that's exactly it. It's just that we do a lot of our lives discussing what's going on right now, and it seems that people enjoy us covering those type of events because we did the election, we did the debate, and man, those shows did super well. We had some. I know I had fun.
They were big numbers. We both had fun. I think one of the reasons for the big numbers was probably that it was in the evening, but and I think that makes a difference too. But
we'll see. Maybe people, maybe people just like me won't watch it by themselves because it's too fucking boring.
Yeah.
But if you have a bunch of other dudes to watch it with or other people you can chat with, maybe that's the difference, right? Who knows? We'll see. But hey,
yep, no worries. So now what? I still don't know how they're going to do this. Like, we're just kind of winging this as we go. Has he already announced all of them, or is he going to do it, piece by piece, member by member?
They're going to be sworn in. So as far as I know, like, this is the live stream. I'm picking that up directly from CBC, and it says that it's live. So I'll put there you go. I'll put the caption. So as far as I know, this is the live stream that's happening right now. You're seeing a bunch of really important people walking into Ottawa, and of course they're making it. There's a jackass somewhere. Okay, hold on. Let make you look important so that you can walk by yourself. So there's probably a bunch of future ministers that we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, waiting behind the scenes. Is it my turn yet? Is it my turn? Yeah. So taxpayers, well spent right here. Hold on.
Who's a Quebec MP from one of the Abbott-Tibby ridings.
There you go, Quebec MP.
Louis Blouin was saying to keep an eye on yesterday, and as usual.
Yeah, as we're doing this, I'm just looking to see if I can get sort of a overview of all these people, see where they're from, because that'd be interesting where they're actually from. Quebec, it's going to be pretty Quebec heavy probably. And
very well, like I was saying earlier, it's going to be extremely, how do you call it? Gender parity. So that Carney did say that he will keep it. He will continue the mess that Trudeau started and choose based on what's between your legs and not necessarily what's in your head. So.
Yeah, and again, I think we both agree it's pretty ridiculous. It should just be merit. Who cares? Who cares what Who cares? Yeah, what they have between their legs.
How
As Joe
ridiculous
says,
is that, right?
the progressive perp walk.
Yeah, no,
Correct.
you're exactly. It's again, it's one of those things that we're covering because I think that's the right thing to do. We don't. I know I don't normally personally watch those things,
No, me neither.
but because we are covering, we literally made the choice to cover Canadian politics. It's a big event, so we will be covering them all. But guys, if you're listening to this, if you're on X right now, you want to be part of the conversation, make sure to join us on YouTube at the Poli Orphans. We'll put the link of the live stream directly in the chats on my X, on Rob's X, and on the Political Orphans X. But all to say, man, we're just trying to see what's going on. We want to keep you up to date. So if you're enjoying those type of things, make sure to join us. Make sure to join the conversation.
Yep, and we'll and now's probably a good time to say we'll be here back at noon at our regularly scheduled time. We've got Jason Levine today, our resident Alberta separatist expert, who's going to really break down the issue for us. I think in a lot of interesting ways. Just going to tell us the process because a lot of us don't really know.
You know, the way at least I'm gonna be selling it is I want it to be, you know, we've said this before and I'll repeat it again. We want to be able to share the information that media is not sharing you.
Exactly.
And this is what I want to do with Jason today is really, he's a journalist. He's one of the last few journalists that we actually have in Canada, if you ask me, and he specializes on Alberta politics and what's going on there. And as you said, he's part of the separatist movement. So we'll let him say where he stands on this. But the point is that we need to have an unbiased opinion as to what's going on behind the scene, because we know that regular traditional news outlets are not going to be covering this the way it deserves to be covered. And this is where you and I and Jason are going to fit in.
Yep, exactly. Because you can already see it in the way that the media is covering it. Is it certainly is not biased. There's a clear, I'm sensing a lot of, oh, this is all Danielle Smith's fault. This is all Danielle Smith's fault, which is ridiculous. She's not doing this. She's simply allowing it. And what do they expect? Is she supposed to silence her constituents' voices?
How ridiculous is that, eh? That we came to a point where you have a leader that wants to do what the people are asking her to do, and somehow that's being a bad leader. Somehow it's her fault.
Yeah, exactly.
She's enabling them
because she's not squashing it, because she's not silencing them. Yeah, it's nonsense.
Like, she's not, and the only thing she's enabling is her people to have a voice. Yeah, that's all she's enabling, right? So
that's all it is.
Yeah, I want to see what comes out of it. We'll re-add the sound in the back, but obviously right now it's almost like they're rolling out the red carpet. But all to say that the goal of today, guys, is if you have questions about what's going on in Alberta, if you really want to know what mainstream media is not going to be talking about, this is the show for you. And Jason will be joining us every time there's a major update that we know is not going to be shown on social on media, and you'll be able to get the update directly from the source, because that's what Jason does, right?
Yep, absolutely. Is he going to be here right at noon, or is he coming in later as the show goes?
He'll be here at noon. No, the whole show is basically about this.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's perfect. I think that'll be I mean, as you said, we can't really rely on the mainstream media to cover this fairly, so that's why we've decided, that this show is probably we're going to try to make this show sort of the go-to place for coverage of this issue.
Amen, brother.
So, as we go back to the cabinet, it looks like it's just what the swearing in here, and they're all going to put their hand on the Bible and.
See, that is hilarious to me. None of them are fucking Christians. Why are you swearing on the Bible? It's like me. It's like me swearing on the
Quran or
woke
something.
Bible. No, worse than that. It's like me praising the tell me to praise the woke gods as I'm, bro. You know, it has no meaning to me. Like, why are they swearing on the Bible?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you see these folks walking up the driveway here.
These folks.
These folks. Yeah, I'm just reading about.
Knowing they have challenges ahead of them. There is the question of.
Yeah, I'm reading. I mean, a lot of these are names. Some of them are first-time MPs. Rebecca Alty, first-time MP. She's representative for
there's going to be a lot of those, but there's going to be a lot of those because funny enough, I was watching a video this morning about CBC talking about gender parity, and they were saying how hard it had been under Trudeau because they didn't have enough talent. That's not the words they use, but that's what they basically meant, is that there wasn't enough women out there to represent Canada properly. Like,
yeah, and that's that's exactly why it's an issue, right? That's why you just worry about merit first and foremost.
What a concept, huh? What a concept. How dare you be so racist and sexist? Why do you hate women so much, Rob?
Exactly, right?
Fighter pilot, right? Somebody who was a previous Liberal MP and actually came back to run again.
I'm just reading here about them as we. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like too many surprises.
Oh, there's probably not going to be much surprises here. I've never covered this. I've never watched this type of events before. I've always, I don't normally report these type of things, but I think that as much as I'll never be a journalist, I think I'm going to start trying to become a reporter. Report on the news and then comment on it. So that's why I'm not a journalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
That then means that there are some disappointed people right now, people who are no longer in cabinet.
Yeah, there are 11 ministers dropped from Mark Carney's first cabinet. Now, one of those is Kamal, who lost her seat. So obviously that is not a choice of the Prime Minister. That was a choice of the voters in Brampton. But Bill Blair is not here today. He is out. He was the Minister of National Defense. Jonathan Wilkinson, the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, he's out. Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor, New Brunswick MP and Cabinet Minister, was President of the Treasury Board. She is not here. Kamal Kira, of course, was the Minister of Health. She lost her seat. So she is out of this cabinet. Terry Duguid, who is Minister of Environment and Climate Change, and also was the national campaign chair for the Liberals in the election they just won. He is out. Nate Erskine-Smith, who had been the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities, he stayed and ran again because Justin Trudeau, I believe, put him in cabinet and Mark Carney kept him in cabinet, and he was offered the housing portfolio. Rachel Bendayan, who had been the Minister of Immigration, she is out of this cabinet, or at least is not here that we have seen today. Elizabeth Briere, who had been the Minister for the Canada Revenue Agency. Ariel Kayabaga, who had been the Leader of the Government in the House and Minister of Democratic Institutions. Cody Blois from...
Oh, mother...
Did they cut the feed?
No.
Oh, I see. Mitchell says journalists aren't even journalists anymore. They're more like emotion brokers and propagandists. Yeah, I mean, that's a great comment. Says you and people like you equals the new journalism, whether you like it or not. Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't want to be a journalist because I'm opinionated and have an opinion, and I think journalists should not have one.
But yeah, true. I think, but that old style journalism is dead when the people who were supposed to not have biases clearly did, but they pretended that they didn't. That's the problem. I think if you're open about your biases, it's really not an issue, because then people can appropriately place your commentary where it belongs and make up their own minds. The trouble starts when you swear black and blue that you have no biases whatsoever.
And we all know, we all knew CBC. He claims that all the time, and obviously they're full of shit. But
yeah, 100%.
Prime Minister.
There you go. We'll just leave it in the back,
waiting for the signal to come out.
See, exactly.
Walking over, obviously, from
the Prime. Oh, there you go. He's coming out of the woods.
Here's Carney.
Yeah. Actually, he was probably looking for Biden. Is that not where Biden got lost?
That's where Biden usually goes, just hanging out in the woods.
For this moment, though, I think I saw a couple of his children as we were coming in here, also here for the day. I would imagine his wife is also here. This is a big moment for people, and they're really.
Did that actually mute the video? What I just did?
Yeah, it did.
Cool. Well, that means I can mute it directly from the screen and not from here.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. Today's
Very
corporate
good,
news
ready
is
to
not
go is
meant
what
to
he said,
inform, it is meant to
He
inflame.
makes his way inside.
Amen,
On the
brother.
ceremony itself set to start.
Mad Dog is
He's
saying
got that look.
he
Yeah, he's got
walks
that.
like Biden.
He's got that look to him.
Then the actual
Maybe Obama's going
ceremony
to
will
show
get
up to
underway.
escort him
I'll
off
bring in the
stage to make
panel
sure he
now.
doesn't get lost. Do you remember that? Did you see that video?
Yeah, I did see that. And then the media told us he's sharpest as he's ever been. Said that his aides were amazed at how sharp he was. Like, shut the fuck up.
Actually, you know that they weren't talking about Biden. They were talking about Obama. That's what they didn't tell you.
Yeah. Fuck. We just saw him walk into the fucking woods. You're gonna tell us he's sharp as he's ever been? Like, come on.
Of course he is, bro. Come on. How is getting
Would the
confused?
media lie? Would the media lie to you?
I mean, that's a difficult cause
No.
any cabinet,
Never.
across any government. I mean,
Come on, bro.
there's only so many positions.
Stop
and
being
there's
so
a lot of talent
racist.
across your caucus. But I think what Mr. Carney understands is one, the ability to make tough decisions for the goals he wants, which is, you had regional diversity, there's ethnic diversity, there's diversity across faith and regions. And as I look at the people coming in, there are a number of issues that came out through different communities that having representation at the table would be very helpful. But to make those decisions happen, to make that vision come forward, you also need to make some tough decisions. And I think, people also need to understand that there is ability to move up. I mean, ministers and MPs at some point.
And now they're acting. Mitchell says, and now they're acting like they never tried to pitch Biden as confident. Yeah, that's right. Like Jake Tapper, who kicked people off of his show for suggesting that Biden might not all be there. Now he's writing a book. He just put out a book on Biden's competence, and he's saying, "Oh, we all knew," and it's like, buddy, you realize the internet's forever, right? Like we can see what you said 6 months ago or a year ago.
What?
How do you then, though, Fred, manage the disappointment?
But I guarantee you, because it's him, it's gonna sell.
But that was a challenge.
Oh yeah, and people will be like, "Oh yeah, he's such a truth teller."
Somehow have people believe that there is still opportunity for them, and that they are still valuable members of the team. I will point out that Ariel Kayabaga has put out a release saying, that she was glad she was in the previous cabinet. She continues to believe in the prime minister. Those are all good signals for him. But that is a management thing that has to happen going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Former ministers like Wilkinson and Bill Blair were very senior players for the last number of governments here or years here in Ottawa. So for them to be out, that's a big change for them. And it's rare to have something like that. Usually when ministers leave, it's scandal or they retire, not usually pushed out by your own prime minister. And Wilkinson was one of the first supporters of Carney when he ran for leader. He was out there. He decided not to run for leader himself and did a video with Carney almost right away when Carney launched. So that was an interesting move there. Terry Duguid, who was the campaign co-chair, very senior role, not in cabinet. That's remarkable as well. And that's going to be a lot of hurt feelings. And it's hard to see how those folks come back.
Here we go. The first mention of feelings.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's interesting, though. That is the first thing that strikes me as a little interesting. You kind of expected all the other stuff, but he's pushing out some senior members. And as this guy says, that's not normally done. So you wonder what happened there. The fact that they're like two old white men, I'm sure that factors in. There's just not enough space for two old white men.
For white people.
Yeah, no matter how senior they are. But yeah, is this a changing of the new? Politics are always pretty backstabby, and it'll be interesting if some of these people who, if you're a senior member of Congress, you've got some power behind you. You're going to have your own little group of supporters, so it'll be interesting to see if some of them have the knives out here for Carney.
None of them are going to have the balls to talk against him, obviously, but it's a matter, for all we know, there's something that was said behind the scenes that we'll never hear.
Oh,
and that's why they showed that they wouldn't just drink the Kool-Aid. Because for some reason, that dude, Carney, strikes me as the type of guy that will not allow questions. If we look at how he handles the press, when he's not looking for people to question him. He's not looking for consensus.
He's not looking for consensus. I don't think he's that kind of leader.
No, like do what I'm telling you and shut the fuck up is basically what I feel, what I get from him.
Yep.
Carlos Leteo, the former Quebec finance minister, Claude Gay, former IBM executive, those guys have been, those two had both been sort of tabbed as potential finance ministers. So far as we can tell, they're not getting finance because they're not getting anything in cabinet. And I think there's some surprising, names missing from the list, I'd say at this point.
Well, and also one of the other things that we should watch out for here as well is the number, and we'll count them up, but the number of people from Quebec, because of how
like you
central
said.
Quebec was to the Prime Minister's win. I don't know if there's a larger number of Quebec cabinet ministers. I'll take a look at the list when I have it, because we are starting to get the list, but we can't tell you about it quite yet. I don't know. I don't know what happens to people like a Bill Blair, for instance, who
Why
had been talked
you know
about that
this?
he might.
Why do they get the list before we do? Like, is it like?
I think it's because it's their job to tell us. They're supposed to tell it. They want to.
I like the word you use, to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, officially, it's their job to tell us, and they will when they want to.
Once again, how can you not see that they work for the government, right?
Yeah.
It's their job to tell us. Shouldn't that be the government's job to tell us, and they just report on it? I'm just saying, every single time when you see those things, you start to realize that the CBC is the propaganda arm of the federal government, like of the Liberal government.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they'd be covering this if it was a Conservative government.
They would have probably laughed a bit at a lot of people, but hey.
Yeah, I suspect.
They would have complained by now.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
Of legalizing cannabis. So the other things that they can be a part of that can also make them feel the time they have there is worthy, but also doesn't mean that, renewal is part of politics. People will move on and find other things to do. And if Bill Blair or Jonathan Wilkinson feel like,
have you noticed a connection between all the people who are surprisingly dropped from cabinet?
It's time for some fresh
Have
blood.
you?
I think that's okay too.
What's your opinion?
They're all dudes. They're all they're all and so, which makes sense if you're insisting on gender parity, right? You're gonna have to dump some dudes, some old white men, and that's fine. Except normally senior members are going to be your most experienced, right? Like, why are we dumping the most experienced in favor of first-time MPs just because they're women? That doesn't seem like wise. One of the most important wise decisions, unless you just don't want anyone to question you. You just want inexperienced people who will just do whatever you say. And that sounds like that's Carney's vibe for sure.
Yeah, you want people that you can throw under the bus too.
Yep.
And because for that could be what's going on. What's going to happen too is that right now, like you said, they're getting rid of the white guys, and then they're giving a chance to alternative, colored, gendered individuals. And as soon as they mess up, what's going to happen? They're going to get replaced by white guys that had experience that should have been there in the first place. But nobody's going to question the parity, right? Because if there's something going on, oh well, guess what? They fucked up. We're going to replace them. So,
yep, that's right.
That province back into cabinet in some form. Julie DeBruzen, is here from Ontario, as is Tim Hodgson, Marjorie Michelle, Quebec. Lena Metledge-Diab from Nova Scotia. That's going to, I think, surprise some people. Had been a cabinet minister. She's Halifax West, I believe. Had been a cabinet minister in the Nova Scotia government. Curious to see if she got a full cabinet post or whether she's the Secretary of State. But Sean Fraser, obviously coming back. We reported last night he is the Minister of Justice. I think he's also going to have some responsibility for regional development through the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. There's a lot of Ontario here in the new 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6 of the 7 of the new ministers are from Ontario. A lot of Quebec, which is not
how many from Alberta?
Considering they delivered 44 seats and really kind of ensured that.
That answer.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Where they fell short.
And I mean, to be fair, they don't have that many to decide from. But I'd be interested to see if they have any from the West.
Sarai, you're seeing
he's
Joe
got one
McKnight, you're seeing Steve Fuhr,
maybe in BC.
You're seeing Gregor Robertson.
They're going to be. I think they had 2 ridings, right?
But
like
they do have
Edmonton,
here at least one
They
from the
didn't have a
north
lot of writings in the first place, so who
Yeah.
did they really have,
Rebecca
right?
Alty,
Yeah, that's
from the
right.
Northwest Territories. Not every territory, obviously, is going to be represented,
But
but
you know what?
you
That's
do have every province, every sort of region represented in some capacity.
oh
And I know
bullshit.
Ranch Pillay, the outgoing premier of Yukon,
Every
who's just announced
region?
his resignation. He was
Every
on his
region
UN
represented,
couple of days.
sure.
Every
He said he was really wanting
province in
to
some
So,
capacity.
so you found
Yeah,
a
he's here for the
black
swearing in. He caused a
woman
lot of rumors. He's
in
this
Alberta
is
that ran
confusing
as a
town.
liberal? Is that what you're
But,
saying?
you know,
Yeah,
you do
basically.
have, you know, a prime
And
minister
that
born
and that represents the what
Vancouver,
4.8 million
elected from the
Albertans.
north. You have people like
4.2,
Marc
yeah.
Boulanger,
Yeah.
who
Meanwhile,
represents
how many Quebec
and,
MPs get
Mandy
seats?
Belmassy, who represent northern and or more
I don't know
remote
what I'm trying to
parts
say there.
of southern provinces. So they would have indigenous populations. They'd have communities that are, you know, have accessibility problems, certainly in winter, and you know, deal with the remoteness from large urban centers when it comes to, you know, economic development, when it comes to services, when it comes to healthcare personnel. So you have
that's
some of that
also-
experience at the table now.
But I was going
right?
to say also, I think speaks to the Prime Minister's personal interest in Northern sovereignty
Yeah.
and security, right? That's something that he's focused on, that he wants to make a priority. And so having those people as part of cabinet to help that conversation move forward, even supply chains and trade corridors, right? That those things are all interconnected.
Well, and what was one of the big problems of the Trudeau government and the Trudeau years is that they were overrepresented by urban progressive
right.
cabinet ministers. So even in things like, you know, where you don't see, say, the rural nuance, as a guy, you know, I'm not a hunter with a pickup truck and guns, but I got a lot of family members who are, you know. When
Oh,
you talk to the
sure
Toronto
you
MPs about
do,
the gun control
Baldy.
legislation, then I go home to
Sure
talk
you
to my uncles,
do.
for example, who hunt. They have a very different view on what they're doing on gun legislation and these things. So
None of those friends that you have voted for the Liberals, bruh.
because they
Come
did
on.
promise to do more gun control. They did promise to do more things on public safety. But there's how do you make the cities and the suburbs safe from you know, illegal gun crime mostly, without trampling on sort of the values and culture of people who live in the more rural and ex-urban parts of
You
Canada.
can't,
So
you
having
tard.
representation
That's
from
why
these
we've been
areas,
having so
that's gonna
much
matter,
problems
right?
with
It's
it.
gonna
Even the
help them
US
erase some
has
of
the
those
same
blind spots
problem.
if they're listened to and if they're in the cabinet portfolios where you're at the table talking about these things in a big way.
Well, and I wonder, I'm going to just go back to the issue of the secretaries of state. Maybe I'll bring in Aaron here. I am getting people emailing me asking, well, what is the difference? There is a difference. And the Prime Minister has signaled too that he wants there to be a difference. He wants there to be a central cabinet. And then another, as David's been saying, tier where people are doing different work. Doesn't mean everyone's going to every meeting, but that there's a focused group. Well, focused, it's 30 people, but a group of people focused on the priorities of the government, and then others who are focused on other issues. What do you make of that structural change, Aaron?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting way to kind of keep the cabinet, you know, to a somewhat manageable number, and then but also sort of increase the number of people or sort of, you know, keep it to the usual number of people who are sort of involved in managing the government or leading files. It's, you know, it's a bit British, owing, I suspect, to Mark Carney's time there, this idea of having sort of a cabinet and then having a ministry. In Canada for the last little while, we've sort of combined the two and just said that every minister is in cabinet. And what Carney is doing here is essentially saying there are ministers who are in cabinet, and then there is a ministry that includes these secretaries of state. Right. You know, in previous times they might have been called ministers of state or what have you, but this kind of calling them secretaries of state, I think, makes a clearer distinction between cabinet and these other duties. And these other secretaries of state are going to have specific jobs, I take it, that, you know, in some ways I think we've seen ministers have in the past, but these will be kind of more specific, you know, focused files. They aren't necessarily connected to a line department like defense or finance or industry.
Right.
But they still give you someone, not only, you know, for internal reasons you can promote and reward, but also people that you can sort of give tasks and duties to that you maybe don't want a full minister having to.
Yeah, I was just reading that. China, Sasquatch says China dropped all tariffs on the USA down to 10%. Trump tells China, "That's great. We'll drop your tariffs to 30%." Is that what the new deal is? I haven't read. That's hilarious.
But at the same time, you can't.
Maybe let's just talk from your experience.
I think he should keep those tariffs on personally, because he needs to do something to. It's either you rewrite the agreement that you have, like the free trade agreement that you have in place, or you put tariffs. I don't know what the best case is. I'm not an economist, but if you're trying to drive business back to the U.S., you have to make
there
them.
has to be a cost. There has to be a cost to make
There
the
has to be.
products.
Yeah. Did they drop the tank brigade? I'm not sure. The tank brigade. Who's the tank brigade? What am I missing here, Dave B? Do you know what he's talking about?
No, I'm not sure. Dave, if
What do you
could just
mean, bro?
Yeah, if you just clarify for that. Sasquatch, Freeland is going to be the ambassador to Antarctica because Trump can't stand her and Carney knows who his master is. She certainly isn't going to be the ambassador to America. That'd be hilarious, though. Is she? I believe she's the minister of transport. So
right now she is, yes.
Yeah.
Now is she going to keep
Let's talk about some of the
that
most
role?
recent, people first. I don't know how much
Who
you
knows?
saw, but there I think as many as David 11 people who have been dropped from the previous Carney cabinet, and some of those obviously have been in cabinet a long time under Justin Trudeau. Thinking of Jonathan Wilkinson, Bill Blair. What do you make of the decision to lose some of the people with you know, a lot of experience as a signal about renewal? Because obviously that's important for this prime minister.
Well, this was Mark Carney's chance to put his stamp on the cabinet, and I think he did that, bringing in new faces while keeping some key critical experienced faces at the table.
How's a guy with a
The
list
good news is
on national
the ones who
TV?
are not in cabinet are not lost. They're still in the caucus. They are
Does he have
still
one?
a part of the discussions, and they're still in the room.
He sounds like I
in
did
a
when I
way,
first
I
got
look
my
at it as
Invisaligns
additive.
to fix my
You're going to
teeth.
have a lot
Oh,
of
yeah?
different voices
You tend
advising
to
the prime
to
minister
slurp
working
a bit because
cabinet.
you're not used to it.
How do you then manage?
That's really the
those
best that
people, though, the
$1.4
people that are
billion
disappointed
buys
today?
us.
Are there ways to
guy
give
with
them
the
other
lift?
roles to make sure that they feel valued inside caucus, and that caucus feels valued too? Because that's the other kind of struggle and challenge in this.
Again with this shit.
It's a challenge for sure because there's nothing like the cabinet table. It is
They
where the key
need to feel
decisions are made,
valued.
and
Yeah,
You're there to do a
everyone
job. Shut the
knows that.
fuck up and do your job.
It
Like,
will be
Yeah.
interesting
You
to
fucking
see, and it will be
kidding
a
me?
challenge for this prime minister and this prime minister's office to keep in touch, particularly with the folks who've been dropped.
but I guess that makes
But I would
sense
also
though,
say
right?
there's
If
an
you're
onus
one
on
of
the
your main
folks who
focus is
have
gender
been passed
parity,
over to
you know that you have
stay a
to
part of
sell the
team and
idea that their
stay
emotions matter.
and
You have to.
Gotta be valued.
Some ministers who've been dropped from cabinet.
David B saying Mendocino and Lementi.
I
What about
think
some
they're
of the new
still
faces
in.
that we've seen?
Yeah, I guess we'll
Tim
see because
Hodgson,
they
I
haven't.
haven't heard of them being
Joel
dropped yet.
Lightbound,
We're
you know,
not
people that-
privy to the list that
either
CBC has,
knew Mr. Carney
unfortunately.
before or have been around a long time and have
Sasquatch
not
is
been in
saying
cabinet.
she's going to be
What
the
do you think
ambassador
new
to the
faces
UK.
are trying to
Freeland
suggest to us,
is.
and what do you make
That'd be
of them?
hilarious.
It would make
I think
sense
it's a
though.
good thing to see a lot of
Yeah.
these new faces. Adam Van Couverton, John Zaricelli, Marjorie Michelle. These are
And
people who
I was
are
looking. I'll just mute them for a second. But I was looking at who they have to pick from in the East. In the West, sorry, if you look at Alberta, the guy that won, there's two ridings that won, right? One of the guys is Corey Hogan, which is like as white as they get. Like he looks like he should be writing articles for the CBC on their website.
Yeah.
And the other one is like an old white girl, like an old grandmother that's called Eleanor Oshlinsky. So again, as white as they come. So that's probably why they will not get positions.
Yeah, they got
They don't score high enough on how do you call it?
hierarchy of oppression.
That's it.
Yeah, they're not oppressed enough.
Continue to be front and center on that.
No, obviously they're the one oppressing, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, no,
Yeah.
no, of course not.
Did you see Donald Trump gave refuge to South African farmers because they're being killed for their farms over there, and the fucking people in like the far left down to like, we finally found the refugees who they'd hate, who they don't like, because there's a lot of groups that are like protesting it. Groups that have there's refugee settlement groups that are saying we're not gonna resettle these people, we're not gonna help with them, and it's like, oh, okay, so that's all you had to do to find a group of refugees that the left hates. As long if they're white and they speak English, they hate them.
Of course, the House comes back quite soon. The House leader is going to have a lot to do.
Oh man, hey, by the way, this is funny. There's something that just popped up on my X here. Big kick in the teeth. NDP won't receive campaign reimbursement in hundreds of riding. So I guess because they lost their official status, they will not get their expensive lattes will not be reimbursed.
They thought they were going to destroy the party, and Carney was going to reward them. Carney is ruthless, man. He's fucking, he is savage. He don't give a fuck about people if you help him or if you didn't. He don't give a shit.
Nope. Cabinet will have fewer than 30 people, 30 full minister, but also 10 secretaries of state.
I believe this secretaries of state thing is a thing they just made up at this for this group. I think I don't know what it means, because that's not, we don't call them secretaries in Canada. Just ministers are what cabinet members are.
Hold on. Secretary of State. No, actually, it's been.
I think you folks saw Dalton McGuinty walking up, right?
Like in
hold on, let's just listen to what she has to say, because she's obviously a white girl. She's very
how are
important.
You feeling today? He joked that it is great to be on this side of it. And I do think, actually, as much as it's a joke, it does sort of speak to what Brian was just talking about, the amount of responsibility that folks are taking on today. Again, as we have talked about, at a time of great consequence for Canada, certainly in terms of the relationship with the United States, but also the domestic agenda that Mark Carney has set forward. He's pledged to be ambitious. A couple of things to look at as we wait to hear what roles folks are taking on. One thing I think we want to look for is how the ministerial titles and the departments are used in all of this. Certainly, if we think back to Justin Trudeau, for instance, creating Crown and Indigenous relations and Indigenous services. So something like that. I don't know that we'll see things on that scale, but different ways of making a statement about what the priorities of your government are, how they intend to move forward, things that can have knock-on effects in terms of the machinery of government, how different pieces work together. So that's
it's not very important what she's saying, but to answer your question, there's always a Secretary of State. There has been one since 1867, but normally it's just one role. It was established in 1867 with corresponding departments, was a Canadian cabinet position that served as the official channel of communication between the Dominion of Canada and the Imperial government in London.
Okay.
Now, they're talking about 10, there's 10 provinces / territory in Canada.
So maybe
and Carney is talking about how, he's been trying to say that we don't need 13 different economy. I think, was it 13 or different economies per province instead of having just one? So that's probably what it is. Probably that he's going to take those people, put them in charge of the provinces, of having the communication between the federal government and the province.
I don't know if we can get that shot up, but he is holding court with reporters, as he tends to. I don't know that we have a live camera there.
Doing a scrum. I don't know that we either.
Sasquatch says Trump said he's got an announcement today on Canada and has nothing to do with trade. Yeah, we talked about this last night, not on the show, but me and Nico talked about it.
I sent it to you.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know what he's talking about.
What I want it to be is what I told you. I want him to offer security refuge to conservative Canadians, saying you can renounce your Canadian citizenship and we will give you an American one.
Basically,
I need free. Thank you.
Exchange or something.
Yeah, that's how I call it. And I asked that question on just before we went on the live. I actually asked that question on Instagram. So I'm curious to see what people are thinking.
I honestly have no idea what it's going to be about.
Presented to the ministry, not necessarily. Okay, here we go, Catherine.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, there's John Critch. Yeah.
So I asked just before the live, and I only have about 60 votes yet.
Yeah.
And 89% of people are saying that they would take a citizenship exchange, because that's what I asked, right? I'm like, if Trump were to announce that you can revoke your Canadian and exchange it for an American citizenship, how many? Because what I'm saying is that we should send conservative down south, and they could send some of their Democrats up here saying, who wants to be Canadian, who wants to be American, and let's make an exchange.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't. It's an interesting idea. I don't think I'd be surprised if it is. I don't think there's.
No,
I don't
it's
know
not
if
gonna,
there's
bro. It's
I don't
not
know if
gonna be.
precedent for anything like that.
But it's not gonna be. It's just me wishful thinking,
Oh
saying
yeah.
like obviously I have an agenda and I'm biased. So
Thank you. Well done there, Catherine.
Yeah, it would be.
Just from a former prime minister.
I don't know why America would do it. To be honest, they probably.
no, but Trump had hinted at it though. Like he has said in January, he kind of hinted it as in he would consider giving citizenships to Canadians that wanted to become Americans. So that's where it came from. He said alluded to it back in January, and I've never forgot what he said. So I'm wishing for the best.
Wishful
But
thinking.
oh, 100%, 100%. What's going on, Cheryl?
Hey, Cheryl.
Other people who are just perhaps staying in similar roles will just be presented as part of the new ministry. I'm going to bring back the panel that's back in the Power and Politics studio. Look at that, Vandana. Jean Chrétien says it's a virtual majority. There's no reason why it can't last 4 years. Yeah, lots of pressure there for Prime Minister Carney.
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to the fact that there is to make they're short of what 2, maybe 3, depending on Terrebonne. But I think you can definitely find synergies, and Mr. Carney has confirmed that he will work with other parties to find those synergies, to find where they can get votes and things across the table. I also think it's important that the Conservatives have also said that when it comes to Canada, sovereignty, they will support the government. So I think there's a lot of goodwill here right now.
What the fuck is Canada sovereignty?
But I think there's
Canada? Did we drop an A in Canada? Like Canada? Canada sovereignty, is that? Are we already migrating to China?
Yeah, China to
level of government.
China, yeah, exactly.
Focused on key priorities, but also I think secretaries of state will have specific files they have to stay on top of, but also reporting into that minister and having ministers also kind of supporting them. And I think they'll be evaluated based on that as well. And a different cabinet culture. I think here I can see Mr. Carney wanting a cabinet to have debates and discussions based on, and that's why you see the diversity of the team. So if you have a comment on someone else's file, that might be welcomed here. And I think that will show that he wants people who are competent.
It might be welcomed here.
If you have a file that you want to bring, you better be ready to support it. And if not, other cabinet ministers have the ability to weigh in on them.
Yeah, we just saw David Lametti sitting down there. He has been advising the prime minister. Is I think that as far as we can go, no official role. The former governor general Michael Jean also there. We're told David Johnston is also there. Governor generals generally show up for these special moments as well. They're confirming just some of the numbers that we're seeing in cabinet: 14 women and 14 men. The women's secretaries of state, there's 4, and men are 5. So
of course,
not quite there. 6?
Yeah,
slips over onto the next page.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So almost
now
there.
we got the chief.
And by my count,
Chief's here.
6 cabinet ministers from Quebec, because that was also part of what we were.
They're
Robin, good morning to you.
Clues as to
Hey, what's going on, Robin?
Driving mode, yeah.
Signaling and
We're
he wants to have.
this is just one of our special episodes as we're doing live coverage. We still have our regular scheduled show at noon Eastern time with Jason Levine, our resident Alberta expert.
The gender parity and the fact that
you know, there's somebody that
Trudeau's credit. That is
there's somebody that texted me something on X this morning. It's just a picture of a dead whale on the beach, and it's just saying that the native nation of this place is gonna celebrate his soul, and the caption is just like, oh shit, they actually did find a body.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh,
yeah. It was like it was like natives shut down the beach to like honor this dead whale.
That's it.
Yeah, and the body was like, well, at least they actually had a body this time.
The senior ministers is true.
I saw that too. That was really funny.
So that's interesting. They did that. One thing that I found interesting today, though, and I was happy to see, no opposition members, no floor crossers. Always nervous when you're this close to a majority. Would you see a conservative or a blockiste or a New Democrat actually take a role in government? There was no rumor of that. There was nothing really big on that. But it was, in 2006, I recall when Harper formed government, I was surprised sitting with a conservative MP. We were watching CBC and we see David Emerson roll up, elected as a liberal crossing to us. So it was definitely a possibility here. So obviously, I'm happy that it didn't happen.
It could still happen, Fred. I hate to tell you, but
well, you're not getting the prize of
it
cabinet.
still happen.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're not. But we'll see where that goes. I'm not sure it's something that the Prime Minister himself is super keen on. Is what I've been told. Although if someone put up their hand and said I'd like to come over, would you decline? I don't think you would. Aaron, what did you make of Jean Chrétien, the former Prime Minister, talking about the stable majority? Certainly the Prime Minister Carney, seems to view the minority that way as well. That he's got some time and some space here to get some things done, and he's going to need it because he's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, look, it's as strong a minority as you can pretty much possibly have, right? He's only a couple seats short. It is, by math, it is the largest minority in Canadian history, if the current numbers at least hold up pending recounts. And beyond just the Liberal seats in that math, you've got an NDP that is in no position to force an election anytime soon. That should conceivably give you enough votes to get things through the House. The Bloc
get whatever the fuck you want.
About, at least a year of cooperation.
Yeah.
There should be some room here for the Liberals to maneuver and to sort of carry on and advance their agenda. The caveat to all of that is there's a world of difference between a minority, even the strongest minority, and a majority. And you can't really take that for granted. Joe Clark is the eternal lesson in that regard. The PC government in 1979 that thought it was comfortable, thought, the Liberal Party opposite was in no position to force an election. And then next thing you know, they're in an election and the Liberals are back in government. So, the Liberals still have to be careful here, but they do have, as these things go, they do have a fairly strong hand to play.
Okay, thanks for that, Aaron. People are still filing in here. Some of the invited guests, former Governor General.
Man, Jean Chrétien, I haven't seen this guy in forever. I didn't even think he was still alive.
Yeah, me either, to be honest.
I'm very surprised that he's still alive, man. Thought that guy would have dropped to the floor.
They're all going to take their seat. Janice Charette there, the former clerk of the Privy Council. She's also been helping with the transition piece here. So all these people will make their way in, and then things will get underway. But we are running a little bit late. Should point that out at this stage. 24 new cabinet ministers, 10 secretaries of state, 9 of them new. Of those 24 new cabinet ministers, 13 are new MPs, people who have never done this at all before. So steep learning curve for some of them. I'll bring back the CBC's Ashley Burke, who's still outside here with us at Rideau Hall as we wait for things to get underway. Ashley.
We're expecting the Prime Minister after the ceremony to come outside a little later this afternoon and take questions from the media, and that we're told that he'll be standing in front of the cabinet ministers, but not the secondary tier, the secretaries in state. And as you mentioned, when it comes to numbers, there were 38 people that walked up that driveway to join the team today, that ministerial team of both the secretaries in state, but also the cabinet ministers. And when you compare that to Justin Trudeau's cabinet last year, at its peak, it hit 40 members. So they are trying to keep the core group of cabinet ministers down to a smaller number, but there's still going to be a lot of people that are part of this team. And the decision to these secretaries in state was to keep a smaller amount of people at those regular cabinet meetings, so that they can be more efficient when they make decisions, and then call in those secretaries of state for their expertise when issues on their files come up. We're also told that it's going to be really rare that the entire team of all of those 38 people meet at the same time. They're going to be bringing them in and consulting with them just on certain scenarios there. So that's kind of what it's looking like in terms of numbers.
Well, and that kind of makes sense for, I think, who the Prime Minister has indicated he is, which is someone who wants to get things done quickly, takes decisions quickly, and tries to drive the agenda forward. So that also makes.
I don't like that
Ashley,
word
thank you so
agenda.
much
They
for
keep
that.
on saying agenda
in terms of numbers,
as
the size of
as a
cabinets.
conspiracy theorist. When I hear
shuffle,
agenda,
Harper's cabinet got tied for
that means that there's something behind the scenes that we should know about. We're pushing the narrative. Like, to me, agenda and narrative are synonym. At least in my head, they are.
I know what you mean. I think being in the conspiracy world kind of trains you to hear that word a certain way. I mean, the way she's doing it there, it is typically it's kind of like when we're selling when we're talking about the memberships, we're like the membership scheme, the scheme, and it's like we all are like, oh, I hate that word. It sounds like we were like scheming. But yeah, I think you mean like agenda, what is it, agenda 25 or agenda whatever,
2030.
There's all kinds of agendas and conspiracy talk.
Hold on, I'm gonna get the definition of agenda.
I've seen 9 Quebec members of parliament.
Well, obviously
9 Quebecers in cabinet out of 30.
2 from Nova Scotia, and 1 from Newfoundland and Labrador.
1 from Manitoba.
So it's interesting to see just how it sort of splits out, right? In terms of where the power positions are going to go. Like we know,
1 from Manitoba, 1 from Saskatchewan. Is that all that the West has?
Is leaving foreign affairs and moving into industry. I know this is something that she's coveted for a while. She wanted a domestic economic portfolio because
it's hard to believe that was our prime minister. What a fugly man!
A portfolio like that, where she has a chance to perform on the economic side. It's also.
Do you remember?
It's an economic portfolio.
When he put the UN had the blue the blue helmet backwards, like he was in military, and he put this. He put fucking idiot.
How do you put those on backwards? There's literally only one way. Like they're long in the back, short in the front. If you put it on backwards, you won't be able to see.
Hold on, I'm trying to see.
Yeah, Mad Dog says so. The East is represented. Screw the West. Yeah, exactly right. The East is overrepresented, and screw the West. And I think, I don't know, man. It's like.
Chrystia Freeland would stay in
It's
transport and work.
he could have made this, like, it was only today it was announced, right? I'm sure he made these decisions a couple days ago, but he could have changed it. Like with all the stuff going on with Alberta, you'd think you'd want to extend an olive branch. You'd think you'd want to bring in as many people from the West as possible. This just seems like spitting in their eye. It'll be interesting to ask Jason what he thinks about this when he shows up.
Of course he's not gonna be happy about this. Obviously, who should be happy about this in Alberta? But since we're gonna keep it light, here you go. Look at John.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Now that's a soldier. now that's a leader. Now that is a leader. I'll follow that man into battle any day.
But you know what surprises me? His mouth looked pretty straight. Like
pretty straight. Yeah, it's only when he's talking that he's.
Oh, he can't control it. Yeah, I don't know what happened to him. He probably had a seizure or not a heart attack, a
stroke or something.
Stroke. Thank you. Yeah, but yeah, this is every time I see Jean Chrétien, this is the picture I think about. I'm like, bro, I just can't take you seriously. Like, how the fuck did you put that backwards?
Yeah, there's only one way it can go. Like that.
Well, clearly not. Not.
But that's hilarious. Mad Dog says, I think they figure the West is bluffing. They're calling a bluff that doesn't exist. I think you're right, Mad Dog. I think that's what's going on. I just think they think the West is bluffing and they're calling it. And I don't know, man. I think that's a real dangerous game because I don't think the West is bluffing. I don't.
Yeah, me neither, man. Well, again, this is the perfect segue to just remind people that Jason Lavigne's going to be with us at noon, so about an hour 40 minutes.
About an hour,
yeah, about an hour 40 minutes from now, and it's going to be dedicated to that. It's all going to be about Alberta, what's going on behind the scene, what has he been working on, because he has some really, I can tell you personally, he has some really good big things going behind the scenes. Can't talk about it. Hopefully he talks about it with us or later on today. I'm sure he will, but all to say that he will be able to inform us about what the mainstream media is not covering, and that's the whole point, right?
Yep.
So that's Carney's husband, wife right there, right?
Where
is that not that dude right there? It's not showing my
what's she wearing, the beige blazer or the pink?
No, the one in the first row. The one with the dress with the green stripe at the bottom of the dress.
Oh, okay. Is that Carney? Oh, yes. I think you're right there.
That's Carney's husband. Wife.
Carney's husband. Mad Dog. He says.
All I was going to say is that her and Big Mike are probably friends.
Yeah. Big Mike.
Big Mike. Did you see the slip? The
No.
slip that there was an interview released last week where she says as a transgender man.
Really?
Oh, bro, she was talking to, what's the name? Do you remember White Chicks, the movie? Like, you know, the two brothers that do that?
The Wayans brothers.
Is that him? Shit.
I'm
I'm
pretty sure.
being,
I'm pretty sure it's the Wayans brothers. Yeah.
and one of the two guys, I think the skinnier guy, right? The one that always plays the crackhead.
Yeah.
That
Scary-
dude has a
scary movie.
transgender daughter.
Yeah.
Transgender, whatever.
So many
transgender thing.
celebrities have trans kids, right? How is that not a sign?
But what's funny is that they were talking about this, and she's like, as a transgender man, they were talking about his daughter or boy, whatever they are.
She slipped up.
You didn't see that?
No, I didn't see that. I mean, I've heard of this story. I find it kind of funny, and I see where she's definitely masculine. I don't think she's actually a dude.
See, I think she is.
Do you think she actually?
100%. 100%.
There's definitely been some pictures that I've seen that's like, yeah, okay, I could see it, but
oh no, okay, hold on. What she said, sorry, let me rephrase that. I apologize. She didn't say transgender men. What she said on a podcast is as a black man. That's what she said.
If it was a slip of the tongue, it's such a bad one for like, you don't want to make that mistake given all the rumors about you.
No, and it was on what's his name? Marlon Wayans. Yeah, that's him. So that's the guy. But she basically says, and even Sky News, which I actually enjoy Sky News.
Sasquatch says, Nico, play the Ellen clip of her.
Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't.
Oh, come on, bro.
I got to run out and get a prescription here in a few minutes, but I want to say, show me that before I go.
I posted that one so many times.
Third arm swing.
That is so funny.
Oh my god.
Oh, bro, I have shown this. I have posted this video so many times on my socials. It does not look good,
and it's
bro.
not doctored at all or anything like that.
No.
Okay.
It's just like, well, obviously, like people are making a lot of fun of him, her.
What's the deal with the kids then?
Hold on. Oh, they could have been. You know, there's something called adoption.
Well, yeah, of course. Sure.
Just let me silence this, and I'm just gonna. We'll go back to this in a second, but this is way more
important matters.
Obviously, we got more.
Michelle Obama's third arm,
and she looks like she can deliver. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
I like to call her my friend. Please welcome Michelle Obama.
Yeah, it's right there.
Best Barack Obama impression.
Let me tell you, I have 3 points.
Oh, god damn it! No, hold on.
Do they zoom in?
That's not what I want. Hold on. On Ellen, zoomed in. Oh, see, Big Mike. Hold on. I'm looking for the clip. I think Michelle Obama. Oh, it is hilarious.
Wait, go back because they're looking for the Michelle dick bounce. I like the Michelle dick bounces.
Yeah,
they always look for the dick bounce.
Right there, bro.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Here, can you like can you zoom in a little?
I can watch Michelle Obama dick.
There's see, there you go. That's a good one right here.
All right, let's try it again.
Look at this.
Oh no. I still can. I still I just feel like it would. I mean, I can't deny it. I can't deny what it looks like. I just Big Mike is still for free. I just can't. My mind just can't go there. I just can't. I see it. I see what it looks like.
But hold on. Let me find the one where she says she's a black man. It's fucking hilarious. Oh, there you go. I think I got it. Fucking Sky News. Gotta love Sky News. Oh, there you go. There you go. I found it right here. Hold on. Before you go, I'm gonna play this because yes, guys, if you're joining us, this is supposed to be about the
We are
sworning
doing
in
live
of.
coverage of the Carney's cabinet, but we're just taking a little diversion.
Unfortunately, we got some really great fucking comments, and we were
We had to
talking.
go down.
Oh,
we had to go
that's
down the
why.
rabbit
It's
hole.
because I called the Carney's wife. Or husband, his husband, and then
bit about
this.
you know, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, you know, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man. You know, would you care to share that journey of?
Well,
Online commentators were in hysterics.
That
I mean,
my heart, particularly as a Black man.
The third leg
that warms
bouncing.
my heart,
I don't
particularly
have an
as a
excuse
Black
for that.
man. And that's,
If I want to,
you know,
if I want to play
that
devil's
warms my
advocate
heart,
here,
particularly
she
as a
could have
Black
been
man.
talking about him, like saying, as a Black man, it warms her heart that
It
he
warms
would.
my heart as a Black man.
Yeah, so funny. That third leg was just bouncing too.
You've never seen that one? There's so
No, I never
many-
have.
Oh, brother, you need to hang. As you hang out with me more and more, you will see I am aware of all those things.
It's just so on the nose. It just fits so perfectly with like what the right wing would love for it to be, and I don't know, like
It's not even right wing at this point. This is just pointing out that argue with me all you want. There's definitely something bouncing there.
No, there was. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I can't lie about that. We all know what it looked like.
Big bag. Oh, Big Mike got a bag of nuts.
Yeah, these nuts.
Yes, indeed, brother. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Do you know Mr. D's?
Mr. D.
Mr. D's? D's nuts.
Oh, Jesus. He is that short?
Who, Carney?
I never realized, that. Oh, no, Carney.
Man, all the men are
There's a lot of
short.
midge in there.
Yeah. Oh, there's one tall guy. Oh, geez, he's real tall.
Actually, he's just normal.
He's just a security. Yeah, yeah. He's he's average height.
Yeah.
He's probably the security guard, though, to be honest.
Yes, he is, actually. Oh, no, maybe not. Man, he is tall.
That's a tall dude, yeah.
Oh, wow. She has an awkward smile like that brown woman right there.
Yeah. What, this guy's pretty tall. So here's the cabinet. Here at Canada, meet your leaders. Meet your betters. Your elites.
Those are the elites of Canada right there, guys.
They are.
Continue this because you got to run soon, right?
Yeah. I got to run to.
Give me a minute. I'm gonna run to the bathroom, refill my coffee, and then
I'll
finish the coverage here.
Yeah,
but I'll be right back.
Oh, and here is the commander-in-chief himself, Big Mark Carney. Fuck, there's another tall dude. I don't know. What do you guys think? It didn't seem like there was too many surprises, other than getting rid of some of the more experienced men, more experienced members of the cabinet who happened to be men. I don't know if that was a decision intentionally made in order to make room for the gender parity thing, but I think the biggest takeaway from this is a ton of overrepresentation from the East and very little from the West, which I find surprising, only because I'm still giving Carney the benefit of the doubt in that he does not want Canada to split apart. If he does, or if he's going to use it as a political football, then I guess it makes sense. But you would think, given all the stuff going on in Alberta in the past couple weeks, and all the stuff is going to come up in the next couple years, you would think you'd want to extend an olive branch and bring as many Albertans and Western MPs in as possible, but it doesn't appear like he did that. It's not, at my count, I have 9 out of 30 are from Quebec. And, I don't know how many from Ontario, but probably at least 10. And the rest are split up between the rest of the country. I think the West got like 2 or 3 out of 30.
Who lit the hulik and will maintain its light and warmth throughout the ceremony. Nagromec.
Oh, here we go.
Et j'aimerais maintenant inviter Aine Algonquin, Verna
like
McGregor,
to
prononcer
invite
ses mots.
Algonquin elder Anita McGregor to say some words of welcome.
Oh, bonjour tout le monde. Hello, everybody.
Where's the land acknowledgement? Give us the land acknowledgement. How are we supposed to know how much guilt we should feel?
I'd like to welcome you to our traditional unceded lands. And,
Oh, there it is.
For those of you who don't
There
know
it is.
what unceded means, is that we never signed treaty. And this goes back to the Royal Proclamation of 1763. So when I come here too as well, I find it very special because this was an important meeting place too prior to contact. And we would meet and talk about what's going on the land, similar to what we're doing and the responsibility that all the ministers in the cabinet have today. I also bring my eagle feather. And in our understanding,
Sasquatch says Carney wants Alberta to separate. It's another crisis for him. I mean, the tariffs was his first big crisis, and he obviously can't really play that out anymore.
To have a higher view.
You know, if you watch the show, you know that I'm sort of you can call me naive, but I do give people the benefit of the doubt. I still want to believe that the Prime Minister of Canada does not want the country to separate. But, you know, some of the things he's doing make you wonder. Like, for example, this right here. You would think if he was serious about it, he would be extending an olive branch to the West and bringing in more representation in the cabinet, which he hasn't done. I think as we were talking to Mad Dog a little earlier, I think he thinks the West is bluffing, and I think he thinks he's a tough guy, and he's going to call that bluff. And I think he's gravely miscalculating because, unlike, say, Nico and our guests who are going to have here in about an hour, Jason, they believe that it's too late. And it very well might be. I still like to believe that it's not. But the only way it's not too late is if we immediately recognize that the West's complaints are valid and we start addressing them in a serious and good faith manner. And it does not look like we're doing that.
I don't think it's avoidable, man. I think, and especially, you know, as we're seeing that 9 ministers have been chosen out of Quebec, and I don't even think you have one in Alberta. Like, I think you have 0, because like I said, there's only 2 options out of Alberta, and I don't see it happening. So what are we doing? Like, to me, it's another slap in the face for Alberta. So can you really expect them to want to stay after this? It's going to be a hard sell, man. I don't see it. I really don't see it. But again, we're 2 Easterners. We're not from Alberta. We're not, we don't live there, although I have a lot of connections now in Alberta and BC to kind of get an idea of what they're thinking. At the same time, this is why we're going to have Jason in an hour in order to tell us what's actually going on behind the scene. What's the sentiment? Because Jason Lavigne travels a lot, right? He does a lot of life stuff, so he's always all over the place of Alberta. So he would know a lot more than we do. But yeah, guys, for the people that are on the live, because this is kind of surprising, we have a really good number of people watching the feed right now. And
yeah,
if you are here and you've never watched one of our shows before, make sure to join us in an hour, because I'm going to have to stop the feed because obviously the title is going to be incorrect. I can't modify a stream midstream, but we'll be joined by Jason Lavigne. So if you guys want to know what's going on behind the scene in Alberta, what the mainstream media is not telling you, he's the guy to speak to, and we're going to have him for 2 hours. So please show up at noon Eastern with questions, because that's why Jason is here. Jason takes a lot. It has a lot of information. And he's not scared to answer your questions either. So
we're really lucky to have him on this show as our resident Alberta. If we didn't know him, he'd probably be one of the top guys we'd be trying to get to talk about this issue. Mad Dog says, yeah, you guys might be from the East, but you're open-minded, and kudos to you both. I mean, that's one of the, appreciate that, Mad Dog. That's one of the reasons why we think it's so important to discuss this issue, because we realize most people on the East just have no clue about what's actually going on, how serious and legitimate these grievances are. And the media is doing their best to convince the rest of Canada that it's just a bunch of whiners. That their grievances are not legitimate, and I think that's a really dangerous. Angle to take, and we're just trying to do our little part to try to, cause minds to be open a little bit, in the hopes that, at least for me, and I think for Nico, in the hopes that maybe we can keep the country together, even if it might be too little, too late.
The reason I do this, I don't think that it's possible to keep the country together. I think we've gone too far, but at the same time, the reason I'm doing this, I just want to make sure the East is informed, that they understand how long this has been going on behind the scene, how deep that cut is, because I'm really starting to understand it. But 6 months ago, I had no idea that it was this bad.
Me too.
I knew that Alberta felt like they had been taken advantage of for years and years through equalization payment, through oil and gas production caps, but I was not aware of how deep that cut was. And now that I deal with Albertans all the time, I understand it. I fully fucking understand it. And they have the leverage compared to the Frenchies that wanted to separate in the 90s. They have the leverage.
Absolutely, yeah.
We didn't, right? In Quebec, we didn't have the fucking leverage.
Yeah, I mean,
speak French.
If you want to talk about bluffs, that was a real bluff in the 90s, while Quebec did, and it paid off handsomely for them. And we're seeing the results of that bluff from the 90s. Here in 2025, they get 9 fucking cabinet members out of 30. That's, it's the gift that keeps on giving, the bluff that keeps on giving. Meanwhile, you've got Alberta, which actually is not bluffing and has legitimate grievances. And, one common sentiment I see is, because now that they lost, or now because Carney won, now they start talking about this. Like, no, motherfucker, this has been going on for a very long time. This is not,
man, sorry to cut you off, but did you see what's been announced? Mélanie Joly is becoming the Minister of Industry, so she's no longer Foreign Affairs, which that's another twat right there. Like, she had no business dealing with other nations. Like, that woman can barely deal with her own people. She can't deal with foreign nations. So that's smart. But I'm curious to see who he's going to put in charge of, because technically that person's going to have to deal with Trump.
Well,
Trump's
because
administration, right?
That's a good point. I think a lot of these, I don't particularly think they're that important, who the Ministry of fucking Industry is, or the Ministry of Transport.
Nobody cares.
But Foreign Affairs and Defense, Minister of Defense, Minister of Foreign Affairs, those are genuinely important posts, and I will be interested to see who has those. Guys, I'm going to have to take off here. I got to run a good description. I'll be back for the regular show in about an hour with Jason. Nico, you're going to stick around for a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I'll stay here if it seems like I want to continue covering this. We have a bunch of people on the feed, so guys,
we've got a ton. It looks like we're getting good numbers from everywhere.
I'm definitely interested in continue doing this, so I will stay on until 10 minutes before noon, and then jump onto the other live. But yeah, guys, absolutely. I'll see you soon, bro.
I'll see you in a bit. See you guys soon.
Yeah, man.
Peace.
So guys, before we'll continue covering this, obviously, but I want to know, what do you guys think up to now? Let me know in the comments below, especially Albertans. How do you feel about literally zero cabinet member are going to be part of Alberta? How do you think? Do you think that's normal? Do you think that's a bitch slap in the face of Albertans? Is it done on purpose? What do you guys think? I'm really curious. I'll let that run a bit so we can listen to what's going on. But let me know what you think.
And national revenue.
I, Francois-Philippe Champagne, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trusts reposed in me as Minister of Finance and National Revenue.
All right, so there was a question to the Prime Minister last week about whether François-Philippe Champagne would stay in this portfolio, and the Prime Minister joked, did he ask you to ask me that? Well, he's keeping him in that role, and as you said there, David, adding national revenue, that's a big vote of confidence in Minister Champagne, particularly because obviously this is something the Prime Minister is going to have a hand in as well.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, Mark Carney may be his own de facto finance minister, but Minister Champagne, he's
So let's see what you guys are saying, because to me, up to now, it seems like there's a lot of French people that are getting positions. And, you know, as a French guy that's aware of what's going on in the West, it absolutely appalls me. I almost feel I have to apologize to the people in the West for what's going on and the way we're treating you. But this is, to me, this was to be expected. Like I said earlier, there's only 2 MPs that were elected in Alberta, a really nerdy white guy and a white girl. So obviously, if their goals is to have gender parity in their cabinet, they don't score too high on the wokeness poll, right? Sasquatch is saying that Carney wants Alberta to separate. It's another crisis for him. Oh, yep, I totally agree with you, man. Since Carney left the US, we have made trade deals with the UK and China. Freaking China. No deal in sight for Canada. He needs another fire so he can put it on his fireman on. So he couldn't put on his fireman on. Yeah, you're absolutely right. He needs to put the hat on. But are you really that surprised? Because Sasquatch, bro, that's why he was elected in the first place, right? Carney was elected in order to take care of the Trump problem, saying that he would stand up to him, and fuck, we saw what happened there. He literally elbows up, right? Elbows up. Mad Dog is saying, yeah, you might be from the East. Oh, you're open-minded. We did see those comments. Sorry for repeating, because if Saskatchewan was a part of the USA, those canola tariffs would be off. You know, man, one of the things that we're going to have to talk about with Jason Lavigne in about an hour is what does he think about Alberta and Saskatchewan? Because to me, they're going to separate. They're going to follow. Saskatchewan's going to follow Alberta, if you ask me. Like, if Alberta separates, Saskatchewan's right behind it, because as you said, they have canola, they have lithium. They have one of the biggest reserve of lithium in the world, and it's untapped basically. So of course they have grievances too. So I do see Saskatchewan leaving Canada if Alberta goes again. Anita, as Minister of Foreign Affairs. Oh shit, Anita Anand. Anita, let's see what that woman is all about. Minister, so Anita Indira Anand is a Canadian lawyer, academic, and politician who served as the Minister of Innovation, Science, and Industry since 2025. So basically, she was already in Carney's cabinet, but she will be foreign minister. Wow, I don't see it. What do you guys think? Anita is what's her name? Anita Anand is the new foreign minister. Damn. Damn, she's out of Oakville too, so she's out of west of Toronto. I've lived in Oakville actually. But yeah, what do you guys think about this? Because to me, I don't see it. I don't see her standing up to Trump. But if we consider what Carney did last week, standing up to Trump, maybe she's going to be very good at it. Who knows, right?
Economic Agency for Northern Ontario.
Minister of Job and Families. Sure, that sounds like some woke bullshit if you ask me, but hey.
I would say Patty Hajdu sort of more on the progressive.
Of course.
That he got the last.
And we're gonna get some commercials. Sorry guys, trying to adjust the noise, but their player is really shitty. CBC's player is absolutely terrible. So sorry for that. I'm gonna mute that. You guys don't need to hear this. We'll take some comments during the time. Sasquatch Chronicles, send me the link and I'll fire up my mic and camera. Ha, just joking. Just woke up. You know what, bro? Text me. Send me an email behind the scene at info@nicolagan.com. Let's make that happen. If you want to come on the show, let's talk, man. We're always looking for some great contributors, and you have a fucking hilarious. You do make some hilarious comments, so maybe you should. info@nicolagan.com. Send me an email and we'll take it from there, bro. Let's put that back. Stephen Guilbeault sworn as the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Oh, what the fuck is a Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture? You know, guys, that's a perfect question. What does Canada stand for? I was asked that question by Kaylor Betts a couple of weeks ago on his podcast. He asked me, what does Canada stand for? What's our culture? And I was not able to answer that question. And clearly, Stephen Guilbeault has just been sworn as the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. So he should know what Canadians are. But do you know what it is? Like, as a Canadian, what do we stand for? If you had to describe a Canadian to somebody from a foreign nation that had never been to Canada, how would you describe our culture? What does Canada stand for? Question for you guys on the live. Anybody that wants to comment, leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. If you're on X, I want to thank you for being on, but you're missing the conversation because we're having some great comments on our YouTube channel. If you want to be part of the conversation, join the feed, the live feed at the Poli Orphans on YouTube. The information is just below me at the Poli Orphans on YouTube. If you're on X right now, make sure to join us. Join the conversation on X. Join us from X on YouTube. If you really don't want to go on YouTube, share the stream, like, comment, and reshare the stream. That's how you guys can help us grow.
Do solemnly and sincerely promise and declare that I will truly and faithfully and to the best of my skill and knowledge execute the powers and trusts reposed in me as Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada and Minister responsible for the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. As Minister of Justice, I will see that the administration of public affairs is in accordance with the law. As Attorney General of Canada, I will uphold the Constitution, the rule of law, and the independence of the judiciary and the prosecutorial function. Moi, Sean Simon Fraser,
Sean Simon Fraser, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully and to the best of my skill and knowledge execute the powers and trusts reposed in me as Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada and Minister responsible for the Atlantic Canada Economic Opportunities Agency. As Minister of Justice, I will ensure that the law is respected in public affairs. As Attorney General of Canada, I will ensure that the Constitution is upheld, as well as the independence of the judiciary.
So, Rosie, this is an interesting one with Sean Fraser as Minister of Justice, Attorney General, and also Minister responsible for the Atlantic Canada Opportunity Agency. Talked out of retirement, convinced by Mark Carney to run for office, offered a cabinet portfolio, if he did that didn't have a large public stakeholder presence that required national travel because he wants to be home in Nova Scotia more with his wife and young kids. This is an important portfolio.
Let's take some of you guys' comment because right now I don't think there's any surprises. Just a lot of people from Quebec getting jobs, it seems like. Sean Fraser is obviously from the East, but let's take some of your comments to see what you guys feel like. But Mad Dog is saying works in the look for separation. Yep, I agree with you, bro. It definitely is not in the best interest of the West. And of course, Chrystia Freeland is being sworn in as Minister of Transport and International Trade. So she's basically keeping her job. Let's listen to the Wicked Witch of the West and her important speech or acceptance speech.
Internal trade.
I, Chrystia Freeland, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trusts reposed in me as Minister of Transport and Internal Trade.
Okay, Chrystia Freeland in cabinet with staying in that portfolio as Minister of Transport and Internal Trade. Of course, Chrystia Freeland, in many ways, part of the reason why we are where we are today, but she gets to stay in cabinet.
Yeah, the reports of her demotion were greatly exaggerated.
Well, I wasn't sure it was a demotion either. I thought it was maybe a way to handle maybe having a rival inside your cabinet. But that's also worth noting here that she was a leadership rival and she is in cabinet. And that also probably important to signal to other people that there were no hard feelings.
Yeah, there were reports last night that she'd been dropped entirely. There were rumors she was going to go to the United Kingdom as the new High Commissioner. None of those things turned out to be true, as she is going to stay as the Minister of Transport.
Oh boy, oh boy. You know we're fucked when Chrystia Freeland is still the Minister of Transport and International Trade. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. What has the Wicked Witch of the West ever done for us? Seriously, like, absolutely insane that she's still there. Sean Fraser showing off his socks. Why, somebody needs to do it since our Prime Minister Trudeau is no longer in power, right? Cheryl is saying, from my memory, there's been a long history of liberals favoring Quebec. If I'm not mistaken, most leaders of the Liberal Party have been from Quebec. Yeah, vast majority of them. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Mad Dog is saying, we do not blame the Quebec people. It is strictly with the government and what they take compared to delivering. Yeah, bro, I'm happy you're saying that, because obviously I'm not responsible for the equalization payment that the province I'm from takes. But at the same time, I'll be the first one to defend you guys, as in I fully fucking understand why you guys are so fucking pissed. Like, I really, really get it. So, I get it. I understand. But at the same time,
yeah, he'd also
man, I feel bad for you guys. I really, really feel bad for you guys.
That he had in the previous role. There was some rumor going around that maybe Minister Ananda Sangari, he was Minister of Justice and Attorney General and the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs. So he had a lot on his plate in the smaller cabinet. Public safety, it's interesting. David McGuinty was on the couch in the Oval Office in that role. That's right. Just a week ago.
Sasquatch is saying Carney hasn't said one word about the Chinese tariffs. No elbows up, no nothing. Like I've said many times, elbows up represents this. He needs to have his elbows up to suck Trump's dick. So that's why the elbows are up, right? Oh, Jesus. I didn't even realize this was an actual real thing. Are we serious?
I, Richie Valdez.
Oh, Jesus.
Sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and
Minister of Women and Gender Equality. That's a question I've asked on my Instagram many, many times. Can women out there, to all the women listening to this, can you name one right that I have as a man that you don't as a woman? One. Just name one that you don't have as a woman that I have as a man. Name me one. Why do we need anything about women and gender equality? This is bullshit.
As Minister of Women and Gender Equality.
Oh, Jesus, Robin. She is the female chihuahua in the HOC in the House of Commons. Oh, boy. Bumpy Johnson, she was Minister of Indigenous Services Canada. Which one are you referring to?
And small business and tourism. She had previously been part of that.
So Rachel Valdez being sworn in as Minister of Women and Gender Equality. Oh, but Jesus, what type of bull crap is that? Bumpy Johnson, Stephen Guilbeault as Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Yeah, that's hilarious, isn't it? I'm whipping my ass with the Canadian flag today. Are you Canadian, man? Bumpy, out of curiosity, are you a Canadian? Because I understand your sentiment, bro. Mad Dog, he is a twat. Yeah, there's a lot of twat on screen right now. I agree with you, man. Bumpy Johnson, the real leaf needs a brown streak of... Nick is saying Anita is another liberal who wasn't going to run until Carney replaced Trudeau. It's not surprising, right? Robin is saying, oh my fucking God, the activist idiot in charge of our identity. You're talking about Stephen Guilbeault. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane that we have a guy like that I guarantee you cannot even tell me what Canadian culture stands for. And again, that's a question I've asked you guys. What do Canadians stand for now? What's our culture? If you had to describe us to a foreign individual that's never been in Canada and you had like a sentence or two to describe what Canadians stand for, what would it be? How would you describe us to a foreign individual that has never been to Canada?
To manage that kind of stuff and has some knowledge of parliamentary procedure too.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's listen to a bit more of this here.
A reasonably agile political navigator of difficult times. He had been just in cabinet as Minister of Labour, then Minister of Jobs. He had gotten a full ministry portfolio. This is going back more to a parliamentary function. So I'm curious to see how Minister McKinnon feels about that, moving to the House leader thing from having an actual line department. He dealt with some labor disputes, of course, last summer, dealing with economic, railways and at ports. But he's going to be really important. Minority Parliament, rookie Prime Minister. Steve McKinnon's got a lot on his plate.
The Honourable David Joseph McGuinty, Minister of National Defence.
David McKinney being sworn in as the Minister of National Defense. Wasn't he already the Minister of National Defense?
I, David Joseph McGuinty, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully.
Oh no, he was the Minister of Public Safety of Canada. That's true. That's true.
Reposed in me as Minister of National Defense.
I, David Joseph McGuinty, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trusts reposed in me as Minister of National Defense.
You know, that's interesting. I'm just as
All right. David
as we're
McGuinty
watching
making his
this
way
right
from
now,
Minister
it's
of Public
quite
Safety to Minister of
interesting
National
that
Defense. Remember,
McKinney's becoming.
when he was appointed.
He
by
was
Mark
the
Carney. He's
Minister of
staying in
Public
there, but
Safety
now
of Canada,
moving,
and now
away, I guess a little bit,
he
but
is
will still have a
the
little bit of
new
Canada US
Minister of National Defense.
committed to getting
Yet,
that
if I'm not
2%,
mistaken, that dude has never been in the military.
before
Not sure that's who you want
2030, I think, at the latest.
as the Minister of National Defense, the guy that is taking care of our national defense. I believe has never been in the military. I'm looking at his bio right now, and I do not see anything about military. Yep, I do not believe that that man has actually been or served in the military, and yet David McKinney has become our new Minister of National Defense. Another question for you guys. Do you think that's right? Do you think that our Minister of National Defense should have served in the military at least served into the military? And it's a shame that Rob had to leave until the new our new podcast at noon, but he served in the military. I would have loved to hear his opinion on this one, because if you ask me, I do not believe that the Minister of National Defense should be just a civilian that's never been in the military. That makes zero sense to me. But what do you guys think? You think that it's normal, or should we have someone that's ex-military?
Cabinet, not Mark Carney. So Mark Carney kept him there. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, he was part of the Freeland promotion
that's right,
cabinet.
That's right.
Well, Joanne Thompson was the Minister of Fisheries. She was handed that job. She was the only sitting member of the Newfoundland and Labrador caucus who sought re-election. They put her in the Minister of Fisheries job right before the election, and just as they cut the crab quota. And so that you
She won
remember
anyway,
on day one of the election campaign with Mark Carney, or his first stop was in Sunday night in St. John's. There was a crab fishery protest. This is why you don't have elections in Newfoundland in the spring. They'll learn that. But she survived. She got reelected, and she's returning to cabinet as the Minister of Fisheries, an important economic and cultural portfolio for the East Coast in particular.
President of the Treasury Board.
I,
Shafkat Ali, do declare that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, King of Canada, his heirs and successors. I, Shafkat Ali, do solemnly and sincerely declare that I shall be a true and faithful servant to His Majesty King Charles III as a member of His Majesty's Privy Council for Canada. I will in all things to be treated, debated, and resolved in Privy Council faithfully, honestly, and truly declare my mind and my opinion. I shall keep secret all matters committed and revealed to me in this capacity, or that shall be secretly treated of in council. Generally, in all things I shall do as faithful and true servant ought to do for His Majesty. I, Shafkat Ali, do solemnly and sincerely promise and declare that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trusts reposed in me as President of the...
Let's take some of your comments here because this is whatever. But it's interesting, though. I never heard they actually referred to King Charles as the King of Canada. So for the Americans out there, yes, we do still report to a king. We are still what's the proper term? Under the Commonwealth of under the Commonwealth, actually, I think that's the term. Sasquatch is saying Canadians say we are not Americans. What a weird answer. Americans don't say we all are not Canadians. Yeah, it's true. We are Americans, as in we are from North America. But yeah, Robin is saying, oh, look who's back. Sean stepped down to be with his family in Trudeau's government. Yeah. Bumpy Johnson, the Canadian flag has a lot of poop stain on it this morning. Sean Fraser as AG. Prepare for some vindictive and politicized laws. Yeah, man, it's going to be a very, very interesting next 6 months. I think it's going to move extremely fast. Sasquatch Chronicle, Mr. Speaker, I accept Minister of Transport and Trade. Yeah, talking about Freeland. Man, I cannot stand that woman. Robin, and here she is, fucking annoying biatched in the house, Freeland for UK, haha. Yeah, I like to call her the Wicked Witch of the West, because if you look at her, you just put the hat on and a bit of green on her face, and she could play the role right now, not change her personality at all.
Faithfully, honestly,
Mad Dog, as a Canadian, I always thought of us as knowledgeable of the world, independent thinkers, and willing to help move humanity to forward. And we would always be there to fight for the rights to be free. Well, you know, bro, if something, hopefully you learned a lot about Canadians over the past 5 years, especially what happened in 2020 about the whoop whoop. Yeah, I'm not surprised. We're very, very complacent people. So I'm definitely not surprised by your comment. But man, it seems that we're seeing Canada, the destruction of Canada live, and people, half of the Canadians, maybe more, are not even awake of what's going on. They don't even realize what's actually happening right in front of their eyes. Bumpy Johnson is saying Daniel Smith better be ready for a fight. This is the signal. Canada's decline is not going to be slowing down. This cabinet is arguably the worst in our history, a step down from the last. It's hard for me to argue with you, Bumpy. I think you're bang on. I think you're absolutely bang on. And it is true that the decline of Canada is not changing. It's not slowing down. It's going to probably get a lot worse fast. Robin is saying that man was named in interference, I believe. I'm a bit behind. I'm almost 10 minutes behind on the comments, so I'm not sure which comment you're referring to. Oh, and she's crying. Of course she is. Obviously she is. Come on, man. She is the Minister of Women and Equality. Like, really? She's basically a Minister of Soft Men. Yeah, You're pretty much bang on this one.
Majesty King Charles III, King of Canada, his heirs, and
King of
successors.
Canada.
I, Rebecca Chartrand, do solemnly and sincerely declare that I shall be a true and faithful servant to His Majesty King Charles III as a member of His Majesty's Privy Council for Canada. I will in all things to be treated, debated, and resolved in Privy Council faithfully, honestly, and truly declare my mind and my opinion. I shall keep secret all matters committed and revealed to me in this capacity, or that shall be secretly treated of in council. Generally, in all things, I shall do as a faithful and true servant ought to do for His Majesty.
Yeah, and you know what? You're absolutely right. I've never listened to ministers being sworn in, but it kind of blows my mind that they're serving the king. And as Bumpy Johnson is saying, they serve king before country. And yeah, I agree. That's so messed up. That is so messed up. Like they're literally speaking to the king, as in they seem to care about the king more than they do about Canada, which is absolutely insane. We're talking about somebody that sits in the UK thousands of kilometers away. Why the fuck do we care about this guy? This is something that we should separate from the Commonwealth. Like, how the fuck are we still underneath them? Ace of Spades is saying the crime syndicate is being sworn in. They will rob us, scam us, and destroy this colony. They've been, Ace of Spades, they're just going to continue doing what they've been doing for at least the past 10 years, and it's only going to get worse. And you're seeing a lot of the same players from Trudeau's cabinet being sworn in today as minister under Carney. And, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Carney was the guy behind Trudeau's economy, and he's the one that was coaching him on how to run this country's economy behind the scene. And now he's in power. And believe me, he's a lot smarter than Trudeau is. A lot smarter than him. That dude is evil as shit, if you ask me. Extremely, extremely evil. So I agree with you, Ace of Spades. The Canadian syndicate is being sworn in. They will rob us, scam us, and destroy this colony. All I would add is they will continue to rob us, scam us, and destroy this colony. That's all I would change. Wait, what? McKinnon as leader. Does this mean Carney won't be in it? Who knows? Who knows? We'll see. Hey, Northern Hillbilly. What's going on, fellers? What's going on, brother? Rob had to go get a prescription before we hit our show in about half an hour, because we're going to be live. We've been live for, I think an hour and a half right now. Yeah, an hour, 40 minutes. And we're going to go live again in about half an hour. So what's going on, Northern Hillbilly? Hopefully you're going to join us on the live that we have with Jason Laving, our Alberta correspondent. And we will be doing a deep dive on Alberta politics, what the mainstream media is not telling you about what's going on behind the scene in Alberta. So if you've never joined our show, it's your first time watching, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to restream, to share this stream if you're on X. If you're on X, join the conversation on YouTube at the Poli Orphans, because you guys are missing a boatload of comments. We have hundreds of comments like we do every day. So make sure to join the conversation on our YouTube channel at the Poli Orphans. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. Don't be scared to leave a comment. We'll go through them. But yep, make sure to join us in half an hour where we're going to sit with Jason Laving to speak Alberta politics. What mainstream media is not telling you about Alberta politics and what's going on behind the scene. Mad Dog is saying, if they take these oaths, can we not go back on them when they violate these oaths? Brother, I think those oaths, I think you're 100% bang on. There should be consequences to their actions. We should be able to hold them accountable. We need to find a way. Maybe we uphold their salary until they leave as minister, and then we approve their salary. I don't know what the process is, or we do clawbacks. We go after their money if they're not doing what they're doing. Maybe they go to jail for not doing, because if we lie under oath, we could be facing jail time, right? And before, before I say this, let me do some research right now to see if we do lie under oath, are we held? I'm pretty sure it's a criminal offense. Lying under oath, criminal offense, Canada.
Secretary, I think, in fact, to the minister.
Yeah, and also to the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources. So despite representing sort of a riding in the heart of Toronto, she has played in the natural resources world.
So there you have it. You know what, brother? Maddock, you're making a great point. So Maddock was saying that if they take these oaths, can we go back on them if they violate them? And you know what? As a Canadian, as per the Canadian law right here in Canada, lying under oath, known as perjury, is a criminal offense. Specifically, Section 132 of the Criminal Code states that everyone who commits perjury is guilty of an indictable offense, punished by up to 14 years imprisonment. So, maybe that's what we should do. If you're sworn in as an MP, as a politician, as a member of parliament, if you're sworn in as a minister, and you take an oath like the ones that we're seeing right now, and you break that oath, you should be held accountable as perjury. It's a criminal offense, and you should be facing 14 years in prison. If that's the consequences for me lying under oath, why the fuck would it be any different to them? There you go, brother. Again, showing how smart our audience is. Very good point, Maddock. Yes, they should be held accountable, if you ask me. Shirley Arnold, what is going on? I haven't seen you in a few days. What's going on? MPs are the king's local representative, not the representative of the voters. That is how the Westminster parliamentary system works, and is why we need to leave it. I agree completely with you, and that is correct. Good point. MPs are the king's local representative, just like landowners were back in the days, right? I was just watching The Patriot, the American movie with Mel Gibson, and that's the term that they use in there. The new royalty is going to be landowners, and that's what we're seeing. The new royalty are the MPs, but who does royal members report to? To the king in England. So very good, very, very good point. Mark Carney sold our gold stocks in 2012. Yep. He did sell our gold back in 2012. You're absolutely right. Robin is saying, thing is, they won't violate the king. The king is more likely violating us. Yeah, that is once again what we call an understatement, if you ask me.
Generally, in all things, I shall do as a faithful and true servant ought to do for His Majesty.
Again, it's all about swearing allegiance to the king and not the people. This is messed up, right? This is absolutely ridiculous. Robin is agreeing with Shirley. So we vote for a district candidate, which then votes in our federal leader that they choose, which is crescent to the king more than its people. Makes no sense. It actually makes sense because that's how they control people, right? So it does make absolute sense. Yeah, Northern Hillbilly, you're absolutely right. Communism, communist motto, law for the not for me. Lot, oh shit. Communism, law for the people, not for me. Yeah, you're missing a word there, but I believe that's what you meant. Robin, a lot of those sworn into cabinet were named in the foreign interference. These people are vetoed by the king. They can't be challenged, can they, if the king approves of them? So interesting, right? Gotta go. Shirley saying gotta go, but I'll try to come back to ask Jason Leving some questions. Awesome. We'll see you soon. And yeah, come back, ask him some questions. That's why he's going to be with us in about 25 minutes.
others in Francophonie at the provincial level. So there is overlap in the experience, but a provincial immigration portfolio in Atlantic Canada.
Sasquatch Chronicle is saying the Canada Act transferred the responsibility for constitutional amendments from the British Parliament to the Canadian Parliament. It's in your constitution. How are they reps of the king? Technically, we're still, what's the proper term? Let me, hold on, give me a second. I'll find you the actual term for this.
Agni, Mandigal Masti, do declare that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, King of Canada, his heirs and successors. Agni, Mandigal Masti, do solemnly and sincerely declare that I shall be a true and faithful servant to His Majesty King Charles III, as a member of His Majesty's Privy Council for Canada. I will in all things to be treated, debated, and resolved in Privy Council, faithfully, honestly, and truly declare my mind and my opinion. I shall keep secret all matters committed.
So here's what I'm finding, Sasquatch. Basically, it says that, yes, of course, Canada was a British colony before becoming a self-governing dominion within the British Empire in 1867. The Dominion of Canada was officially established on July 1st, 1867, with the passage of the British North America Act. Over time, Canada gradually transferred to full independence, culminating in the patriation of the Constitution in 1982. But at the same time, it also indicates on international.gc.ca, the official government website for Canada, it says that Canada joined the British Commonwealth as an independent state in 1931. The modern Commonwealth came into existing in 1949 with the London Declaration, and Canada has played an important role in its revolution. So, what the question becomes is, there you go. So Queen Elizabeth II served as the head of the Commonwealth during her 70-year reign, a role which has now been passed to King Charles III. And there you have it. So basically, Canada, the King Charles is not Canada's leader, but because Canada is part of the Commonwealth, of the British Commonwealth, as an independent country, we still report to the head of the Commonwealth, and it is the British King that is at the head of the Commonwealth. So that is why, most probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you believe that what I'm saying is incorrect or completely false, correct me in the comments, please. I'm just doing the research as we're going here, but it seems to indicate, at least the the international.gc.ca, that's under the Government of Canada's official website, is saying that Canada is part of the Commonwealth, and the head of the Commonwealth is the King of England. So that is why they're being sworn in to the King and not to Canada, it seems like.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, King of Canada, his heirs and successors.
Yep. Northern Hillbilly, you're absolutely right. They are following ancient Vatican's maritime admiralty law. It is, I can't remember. There was a great documentary out there that explained what that actually is, but yeah, it definitely seems that way. Sasquatch Chronicle, sincere question. Hopefully is my answer, what I told you answered your question. If not, let me know. Misfit is saying, don't care, still going to question them. Yeah, you and me both. Yelp, we're fucked. Yeah. I think we've been fucked for 10 years and we're just going to continue getting fucked. Sasquatch Chronicle is saying Trump has been trash talking Canada for months. Not one word for the king or from the king. King Charles is like that. Sounds like a Canada problem. I agree. I totally agree. It is a Canadian problem because you guys in the US don't have that problem. You've had your independence for a long time. Sasquatch Chronicle is asking, King Charles is like a figurehead. Well, like I said, we're no longer a UK colony, but we joined. That was as of 1967, as I said, when we became self-governing dominion within the British Empire. So technically, we're not a colony. We were still part of the British Empire. And in what was the date? 1931, Canada joined the British Commonwealth as an independent state. But see how it doesn't say an independent country. So technically, we are not an independent country as per what international.gc.ca is telling us. We are part of the British Commonwealth as a state and an independent state. So technically, we're responsible for our own laws, but yet they always need assent, and they call it royal assent. So as much as they want to tell us that we're independent, we're still part of the Commonwealth under the British Empire, and the leader of the Commonwealth is currently King Charles. It used to be Queen Elizabeth II. So this is how we see Canada still being under the British Empire.
King of Canada, his heirs and successors.
Hopefully that answers your question, Sasquatch.
Sincerely declare that I shall be a true and faithful servant to His Majesty King Charles III as a member of His Majesty's Privy Council for Canada. I will in all things to be treated, debated, and resolved in Privy Council, faithfully, honestly, and truly declare my mind and my opinion. I shall keep secret all matters committed and revealed to me in this capacity, or that shall be secretly treated of in council. Generally, in all things, I shall do as a faithful and true servant ought to do for His Majesty. I, Joel Loutbound, do solemnly and sincerely promise and declare that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and the trusts reposed in me as Minister of the Transformation of Government, Public Services, and Procurement.
Okay, Joel Lightbound entering cabinet for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. He's an MP for Quebec City. Was often critical of.
I'm gonna take this comment from Robin because that is absolutely hilarious. Robin is saying, making an indigenous person to declare to the king, ha 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 ha. These are the days, I tell you. Very interesting, isn't it, that you do have an indigenous individual
These are two things, like the transformation title is a new one
under oath to the king. That tells you. Misfit is saying, all right, USA, come annex us. Yeah, you know, it's interesting you say that. I'm just going to check my Instagram poll that I started just before this live this morning, where I asked my followers. Basically, here's what I ask. I actually, Trump has announced that he will be revealing something that is earth-breaking sometime this week, today or tomorrow, in relations to Canada and the US that has nothing to do with trade. He didn't tell us what it was, but he made that public yesterday. And I was kidding a bit this morning, but I was saying that, can you imagine if Trump's earth-shattering announcement is a free exchange of Canadian citizenship for US citizenship? Conservative could go down south while the Democrats can come up here. What do you guys think? And you know, I have about 75 responses, which is not much. But if I look at the results right now, 91% of people are saying that they would exchange their Canadian citizenship as a conservative for an American one. So, you know what, Misfit? Maybe the US annexing us is not that far-fetched, or maybe a lot of people would go for it. So, yeah, man, interesting comment, but I tend to agree with you.
Keith McDonald, the MP for Malpeque.
Robin is saying her ancestor would be rolling in their graves. Yeah, her ancestors would definitely be rolling in their graves. Yet, what's interesting is that some of the First Nations leader, at least one, if I'm not mistaken, is part. Yeah, see, you just missed him. He was right there on the right of the screen wearing the headdress, the traditional headdress.
Tourism and economic development, which let me tell you is a big one.
Sasquatch is saying that Canada is like Guam. If the UK was trash talking Guam and how they were going to annex it, America would tell the UK, we dare you to try to take Guam. No elbows up, just fuck around and find out. We'll see, man. We'll see what happens with this. We
a brief interruption of about
you know, I'm very, very interested in seeing what Trump is going to be talking about this week, what his earth-shattering announcement is. And believe me, we'll keep you up to date as to what it is. But for the time being, guys, we're I can leave that. I'm just gonna remove this right now because we are going live in another 15 minutes at least. We're going live with Jason Leving. Rob and I are speaking with Jason Leving, our Alberta resident expert. He will be joining us for the show for our regular Monday to Friday live that we have between 12 and 2:30. I believe he's going to be leaving at 2, but all to say that we will be discussing what the mainstream media is not telling you about Alberta's independence, what's going on behind the scene in Alberta. That's the whole point of him being on the show. So guys, make sure to join us. It's going to be in 14 minutes. I'm literally going to jump off of here, go configure the next live and jump on it. So if you're on X right now, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to restream this so that people can watch it later on. If you're on X, there's we definitely want you guys to come join us on our YouTube channel at the Poli Orphans, where you can join the conversations. We always have hundreds and hundreds and 100 of comments. Right now, if you're on X, you cannot see them. They're only available on YouTube, but make sure to join us at the Poli Orphans on YouTube. And if you guys want to help us continue doing what we're doing, because Rob and I do this for hours every single day, this is a passion for us, but we would really want to continue growing this show because we're seeing it grow. We've been at it for about 4 months. So if you want to support us, there's a small subscription that's $2.99 a month. It's not even the price of a cheap coffee at Tim Hortons or a cheap beer for my American friends. But if you want to support us, go to our YouTube channel at the Poli Orphans, $2.99 a month. And this will not only give you priority comments, because we try to show every single comment. It's obviously not possible if we're getting 200, 300, 400 like we've been getting recently, but we will give you priority. And it will also give you access to our Discord server. So we created a Discord server last week where we can continue this conversation, where instead of just going for 2.5 hours every day, you can go 24 hours a day. But in order to keep the trolls away and to keep the information out there on the Discord server smart, because man, our commenters are some of the smartest commenters I've ever seen. And it's not because I'm biased. It's really, guys, our commenters are great. So we needed to build a platform where you guys could continue this conversation, keep Rob and I up to date as to what's going on, because there's no way we can catch everything. Of course, we're going to miss some stuff, but yeah, for $2.99 a month, not only are you supporting us, but you gain access to our member-only Discord server where we can continue the conversation, and there's no censorship. There's nothing. Like, this is really meant to drive the conversation between political orphans, between people that don't know where they fit in the political spectrum, both in Canada and the US. So if you feel that you are a political homeless, join us on YouTube. Make sure to support us so that you can join our Discord server. But like I said, we're going to be on live again in about 10 minutes or so with Jason Leving, our Albertan expert journalist, that's going to tell us what the mainstream media is not sharing, what's going on behind the scene in Alberta. So thank you for being here today. We had an amazing time going live. We've had a shit ton of comments. Thank you for being here. And guys, we will see you in 10 minutes, exactly the same place as you are now. Thank you and see you soon.